It's time to check the Eastern Conference standings, and it's the Bucks with a one-game lead over the Raptors. The third-place Pacers are 6-5 in 11 games since Victor Oladipo got hurt, and they have a one-game lead over the Celtics and Sixers. The Nets, Hornets, and Pistons will try to hold off the Heat, Magic, and Wizards over the last 25 games or so. Rick Kamla and Mike Fratello here on Game Time, and let's begin our Eastern Conference breakdown. Who is the best player in that conference?
How about a guy named Giannis Antetokounmpo? I think right now this guy is taking his team, put him on his back, and they are up there leading the NBA when you look at records. So right now, like I said earlier, that would be my MVP choice at the midpoint.
Is he, in your opinion, where he needs to be in terms of taking over games late? Because that seemed to be a deficiency in last year's playoffs. Do you think he's matured a year later to the point where he can put his team on his back and lead them to victories in the playoffs?
I think part of that will be determined by his ability to make shots, because down the stretch in games, even though we see him now shred defenses off the dribble, step here, step there, finish at the rim because of his length, size, athleticism, it may not be like that when you get down the stretch and in the playoffs where he can penetrate as easily. As a result, he may be forced, with the shot clock running down, to make jump shots. That's a different story come playoff time. So that will, I think, maybe be the determining factor in really, is he that guy at the end of the game? You say, here, take the ball and get it done. He can get a lot done, but is he ready for the prime time?
Can't wait to see how that plays out and if he can kind of get over that hurdle. Now, tell the people why the Bucks are not just a one-man band.
Well, they have so many players that they come at you with the depth on this basketball team, and they have okay depth. I'm not trying to say that they have great depth. They have okay depth, but they have people in pieces and parts that really cause you problems. I think Bledsoe, and I'll go back to Coach Bud, as you said earlier, he's done a great job in creating the new Bledsoe, not the Bledsoe that came from Phoenix. This guy is a much improved, much better player. How about Middleton going into the All-Star game and saying, oh, by the way, I deserve to be here, knocking down those threes that he did entering the floor. Brogdon, we kind of overlooked Brogdon early in the year, and then he went to the bench a little bit, then he came back in the starting lineup. I think Coach Bud likes the interchangeable pieces that they have. And when you watch these guys shoot threes now, this was a non-three-point shooting team if you go back a couple of years. And all of a sudden, they're up there shooting threes.
It's a staple of Coach Bud's style, as you know. Who has the best starting five in the Eastern Conference?
We'd have to say Philadelphia, probably. That's an awesome group right there. When you look at the depth that they have and the parts that they have, I like Philly's players.
And in terms of, talk about the J.J. Redick part of this, because you've got Harris, you've got Butler, you've got Embiid, you've got Simmons, and people, I think, kind of forget about J.J. Redick and his 40% three-point shooting a little bit.
Well, remember, he went to purgatory for a while during the season, was put back on the bench and then inserted back in to the starting lineup. But I just think this is such an important glue factor for this team, because the other people that have the ability to draw double teams in the low post area, whether it be their big man Embiid or Simmons posting up smaller guys, when you kick out and swing and get that defense to rotate, if you can get him away from the basketball and they're not going to get to him in time, he's automatic. He's money, and he makes them in big time opportunities. And then the fact that you have a Butler there, let's not forget, Butler can be 2, Butler can be 3, Butler can be the guy at the end of the game that gets the basketball. And then you have to deal with Embiid somehow. This is a pretty good lineup, isn't it?
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Forget the young kid that just came from the West Coast.
You trust the process, don't you?
The process is working right now.
All right, who has the deepest team in the Eastern Conference?
Right now, it's easy to say Boston, but you can't overlook Toronto. I like Toronto's team as far as you look at that entire roster, veteran guys, what they have coming off the bench, the interchangeable parts. I like Toronto.
And Boston in terms of the depth, right?
Yeah,
so you think it's kind of a coin flip between those teams?
When you go to experience, what I did is in looking over the rosters, I kind of marked off each guy on each team that I said, okay, this is an experienced guy come playoff time. They have stuff they can fall back on. And I think when I got done, it was 7-7. They each had 7 guys that have had a lot of experience somewhere.
Interesting. And in terms of the most playoff experience, would you give that nod to?
I'm going to give it to Toronto.
Okay.
Playoff experience. I like, what they've done. They got a guy out of Memphis who has had a lot of playoff experience.
What a get.
Yeah, was in with a lot of battles and wars there in that Western Conference before he moved over. Lowry's been around for a while, and the DNA of Green and Kawhi Leonard coming from that championship program, they got a lot they can fall back on. They have a lot of voices that can talk in the locker room and say, we've been in a situation like this where I came from, this is what we have to do.
Now, their head coach, Nick Nurse, has not done this before in terms of the NBA, going into the NBA playoffs. Now, obviously, he has been in playoff series as a terrific assistant coach. He's been in playoff and championship scenarios in the minor leagues, but he has not been the dude calling the shots for an NBA team in the playoffs. Do you think he is going to translate his coaching game from the regular season to the playoffs?
I think he's done it. Steve Kerr wasn't a head coach before he went to Golden State and wound up getting it done right away. So Nurse, as you said, has had a lot of experience. I think we saw in the beginning of the year, through the first part of the season up to All-Star break, the players believe him, they trust him. He's done a terrific job.
I'm a big fan. And so we have asked you 4 different questions. We've gotten 4 different answers, and we condense it down to one. Who is going to represent the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals?
As far as Boston went last season, I think Toronto's going one step further.
They're pumping their fist in Maple Leaf Square right now.
Are they out there, the whole crowd?
I don't know about right now, but somewhere in Toronto, they're loving what you're saying here.
I hope it's at Soto, my restaurant. I love to go to there.
I like it. A shout out right there. So you are picking the Raptors to win the East. Do you have an opinion on who they would play in the Eastern Conference Finals? Do you think it's the Bucks?
Well, wouldn't it be a great final to see Boston against Toronto in the finals? You know, remember, a team like Indiana, as great as they played up to the point of the injury to Oladipo, eventually they're going to slide out of their third spot. 6-5 in the 11 games that he's not been there. And they were off to such a great start. They had depth. They played terrific defense, moved the basketball. Oladipo was their go-to guy when they needed a bucket. But he's gone for this season. And I just think that that's too much for them to overcome. So you're going to see the other 2 teams behind them moving up there a little bit. And we'll see Milwaukee, and we'll see Toronto, and we'll see Boston. And who would you say the 4th team would be over there?
In terms of Boston, Philly, Milwaukee, Toronto, that's the big 4 right there.
I couldn't think of Philly for a second. That's who I was trying to come up with.
I can't wait for the Eastern Conference playoffs.